looks like Fox News has decided to attack anyone who wants to do anything to relieve the enormous amount of student loans that are crushing Americans today. And the recent example is Kennedy, who had a great argument against providing student loan relief. Let's watch.
I worked full time Monday through Friday and took weekend classes to get my law degree, and still close to $200,000 in debt.
And that's all I hear.
That was a great argument. I mean, she really won. Yeah, that was great. I could see that Fox News really goes out of its way to hire people who have smart arguments to make.
Yeah, have you noticed that Fox News is opposed to every single government proposal that would help you?
Yep.
Okay, but opposed to zero proposals that would help corporations. So when the Fed was busy printing trillions of dollars and handing it to the top corporations, Fox News never said a word.
Not a peep.
Okay. Paid family leave? Oh no, we can't have that. Oh, after you deliver, what? You take a lunch break and then back to work. What? You don't need any paid family leave. You guys are bums. You got to sit in the hospital for a day or two after you have the baby. Okay, higher wages. We showed you yesterday. Tucker Carlson's clips against a higher minimum wage. You don't need any higher wages. Healthcare, you don't need no stinking healthcare. Oh, corporations got a $2 trillion tax cut from Bush and Trump. Yes, corporations are awesome. Oh, helping the American people. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's Fox News, the most hilarious fake populist of all time.
I mean, especially when you consider the salaries of on-air hosts of cable news networks, right? So Kennedy doesn't care because Kennedy is untouched by this issue. And in fact, she decided to give a Democrat some props for failing to fulfill his promise, although it was a weak promise, to relieve some student loan debt. Remember, Joe Biden had said that if he was elected president, he would forgive up to $10,000 in student loan debt. Now, of course, he hasn't done any of that, and Kennedy is very happy about it.
So people who will ultimately be richer than you are stealing your money to pay for their bad choices. Got it. Who loves free college and student loan forgiveness? Progressives. Colleges have long been propaganda factories, and while do-gooder lefties want free school, they despise free speech. Isn't that fun? Students and their parents who see what's going on in these pinko bastions are giving more thought to delaying college, or instead turning to trade schools that offer little debt and higher starting salaries. And sexy calluses, yeah, pipe fitters, woo! Society should never be on the hook for your bad decisions. And it is not your right to have a debt-free experience steeping in the toxic tea of progressivism.
Yeah, so she made one okay point there, which is emphasizing trade schools. Trade schools are great. If you want to learn a trade, I think that's a great option, okay? But there used to be a time in this country where public universities were free. So people would be able to go to college without having to dig themselves into a massive hole. But that option is no longer available. Even state schools have become out of reach, out of touch for ordinary people who want to not only get an education, but let's keep it real, guys. It's really hard to get a well-paying job in this country without a college degree, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to get a decent job in this country without a graduate degree. So that's not just a 4-year bachelor's degree, but you need a master's or a PhD in order to, or some other JD, whatever, some other post 4-year college graduate degree in order to qualify for the jobs out there. So it's rich for someone who has this cushy job on Fox News to say, like, you made bad choices. You made bad choices. I like pipe fitters. I like calluses. Like, shut up. She's so disconnected from the reality that Americans face, and she's not the only one. And it's not just Fox News. We see it across all corporate media. But let me give you some of the stats, because this is what students in America are coping with right now. Because they literally have no choice. Either you get an education for a decent job, or you don't get an education and make minimum wage, which is barely enough to, provide for a 1-bedroom apartment in this country. Anyone, by the way, working a full-time minimum wage job cannot afford a 2-bedroom apartment in this country. Just putting that out there. So if you look at the numbers, let's go to this graphic that shows you just how bad student loan debt is. Sorry, Cenk, I know that I'm filibustering this story, but
it's okay. I love these stats.
So total student loan debt right now is $1.71 trillion. Total US borrowers with student loan debt, a whopping 45 million Americans. Average student loan debt is nearly $40,000, $37,693. Average federal student loan debt, so if you took out federal loans, it's around the same number, $36,510. More than 11% of student loan borrowers are already delinquent, meaning 90+ days delinquent. Okay, so the way that Kennedy is presenting this is as if like everyone who has student loan debt is bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but that's just not true.
Well, that's her perspective, though. Remember, almost everybody on cable news are millionaires, so they generally hang out with venture capitalists and et cetera, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you assume that that's what an average American experiences, you're nuts. So they're like, well, why don't you just pay off your debt with the millions of dollars you have? Well, because we don't have millions of dollars. And so, but they can't understand that. But in a sense, they're doing a nice ad for progressives. When she said progressives just want to get rid of your student debt, I was like, keep saying that more. Do more of those segments. Because I bet you a lot of people, I mean, there's like 7 people who are under the age of 85 who watch Fox News. But for those 7 people, they'd be like, oh, they want to get rid of my student debt, that's killing me. Maybe progressive's not so bad. And we've shown you before about how it adds to the economy because it creates the velocity of money, and people who don't have to pay that student debt most often spend it into the economy, and it creates a very, very healthy economy. And it's something that Joe Biden can actually do unilaterally because it's in the executive branch. And so unlike Fox News though, we're honest, we're not partisan. So we'll tell you, Joe Biden is a liar. He said he was gonna get rid of $10,000 in student debt. He has the authority to do it, and he's not doing it because he was lying. He never planned to do it. It was a way of tricking you into voting for him and getting progressives and younger voters to vote for him when all he was going to do was protect his donors.
And he has an obligation, a responsibility to undo the damage that he has caused as a result of his bankruptcy bill that does not allow any student borrower to discharge their student loans even if they file for bankruptcy. That is the only type of debt that follows you around for the rest of your life regardless of whether you file for bankruptcy, okay? And so I just find it amazing that when it comes to, let's say that real estate developer, Cenk, that we talked about just last week, the person who borrowed hundreds of millions of dollars to build the largest mansion, which he put on the market for $500 million. It never sold, massive failure, okay? He defaulted on his loans, he's going through the bankruptcy process right now. So those failures, eventually they get forgiven. But if you're an American who just wanted to get a decent education in this country and you had to take out loans to do it, well, Fox News thinks that you're the bad guy. You made bad choices and you should suffer for it for the rest of your life. That's what Fox News thinks.
Yeah, so let me give you a sense of why the college education is important, because it leads to wealth. And by the way, one of the reasons that Fox News and other right-wingers don't want you to go to college is because they don't want you to get an actual education, because then you might not believe their propaganda. And so if you only have a high school degree, on average, and I just looked this up for my book, so it's not right in front of me, but it's roughly these numbers. You get wealth of only $79,000 on average, okay? Not income, wealth, that's all the money you own, right? If you go to college, you get in the ballpark of $240,000 in wealth on average. If you go graduate studies, it comes up to, in other words, doctors, lawyers, et cetera, gets up to $450,000 in wealth. So whether you go to college or not, on average, has a massive difference on both your income and the wealth that you accumulate. But Fox News doesn't want you to know that. They want you to think, hey, by the way, the older generation's got the GI Bill, they got their college paid for. Papa paid for the colleges of all the rich kids, right? But when it comes to you guys, Fox News knows, no, I don't want you going to college. And if you do, I want you stuck with those bills forever, so you become an indentured servant of corporate America. So you have no choice but to work for those corporations under any conditions that they force upon you. and then Fox News celebrates and as a champagne toast to corporate rule while pretending to be populist.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.